In 1925, Gunda Stossel became the first female master at the world-famous Bauhaus School of Art and Design. Her department, textiles, had been referred to as the women's department up until that point in history. But under her trailblazing leadership, she and her students moved away from the previous gender bias and began to incorporate new technology, business training for mass production, and experimental materials. Weaving, sewing, and other textiles became a modern art form. So in the spirit of the Bauhaus, I'd like to introduce you to an unexpected combination of weaving and painting, a painted tapestry. One of Stossel's big ideas was to create designs that merged with the experimental materials that she used. In this project, we'll use cotton strips to weave a sort of canvas that creates texture and color, but is also absorbent and ready to accept paint. So, start out by gathering some materials to weave with. Discarded clothing, such as unprinted t-shirts, denim, jeans, old towels, things like that, work very well and they're easy to cut into strips. Classroom staples, such as muslin and felt, maybe canvas, burlap, those kind of things, those can also be used as well, and you probably have scraps of those laying around already. Next, you need to make strips out of these fabrics, and let's just say that you have a piece of felt that's pretty short, so it's not going to make very long strips to weave with. Let me just show you a way to turn this into strips, even though it's a short piece. So choose the width of your strip, and using a pair of scissors, cut down to the end, but leave about the same width at the end. Now come from this side, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be exact by any means, but let's just say I'm cutting back and forth like this, and I'll finish up maybe the whole piece, or maybe I'll stop. And you can see I've got a much longer strip, and these areas can be tucked around the warp, and they're really not that noticeable. So I'm just going to put that aside, and let's look at the loom that we're going to use. This is a cardboard loom, and it's great for beginning weavers and for our purposes today. I've created a simple design in pencil on the cardboard here to follow. Simple is a very good idea because details can always be added later in paint. Just think about having large areas of colors and shapes to work with. Next, on this version, I've created the warp strings by going up and around the notches on the front and back side of the loom. You can start your design either at the top or at the bottom. I am just going to grab a strip here of felt that I've cut and one of the plastic needles. These are great for weaving this project because they've got a big hole that you can get thick materials such as felt pushed in through there. Now I've already started my design a little bit up here at the top. You notice that I left a little tail hanging off here at the start. I didn't tie it or anything. We'll talk about that in a bit. We'll come back to that. So I'm following my pencil lines underneath, and I just wanted to show you how to go around a shape. So let's just look at this oval, kind of a sun pattern, maybe a cloud in the sky here. All right, when I reach the edge of that shape, the pencil line, I'm going to stop with that color, and I will bring it back in the opposite direction. And I'll just keep weaving this area, and this time I'm going to stop at the next warp string. So instead of really keeping an eye on where I'm at on the strings, I'm really looking at what's beneath the strings on the cardboard piece. So I'd continue to weave, and then I'd take another piece, I'd come back and weave this area, and I can go around the shape that way. Now it's important when you reach the edges of the weaving that you not pull tightly. You want to keep it a little bit loose. If I pull tightly, I start to pull the strings in, and you can see that starting to happen over on this side. We want to try and keep from getting the hourglass shape by keeping it loose when we pull through on our stitches. You can see the tails. When we start a new color again, we're leaving those tails hanging out. So you can tuck those underneath if it bothers you now, and then later on, we can actually glue those on the back side. All right, so let's just bring a finished tapestry up. Now this one has been taken off of the loom. You can do that before painting, or you could paint it and then take it off. It really doesn't matter which way you go with it. But let's decide what paint we're going to use. Now acrylic colors are very quick to cover, but they can also get a little thick and a little stiff, which you might like. But I prefer to use something a little softer. Fabric paints, tempera paints, anything like that will work. But today I'm going to demonstrate using an opaque watercolor. This is often called gouache. I just love this cute little set here from Richardson. For thicker areas though, I'm going to get a little wider, bigger brush. And let's just say this is a river area down here. So I might want to add some opaque white. The other thing about opaque watercolor is you can always layer it if you want to get brighter, whiter areas, or you can make it subtle. And you see how that's soaking right into not only the fabric, but it's also soaking into the warp strings. So those are getting tinted as well. Okay, so we've got a little tree up here. I just want to add a little highlighting perhaps to the trunk of the tree there. I'll do that with kind of an ochre color here. And maybe a little shadow on the grass underneath the tree. So you can kind of just see this painting could actually take quite a while as you add details. You could even paint things like a house in the distance, perhaps sunset colors. And it's absorbing right into the fabric. It's almost like it's a canvas. So once the paint is dry, and I'm going to use this piece as an example, I want to show you how to take it off the loom. So turn it over to the back side, and you're going to cut the warp strings kind of right in the middle on the back side here. All right, I'm just going to cut a few at a time, like maybe 3 or 4. You don't need to do them all at once. All right, and you can pull them through the notches like so, and then come up here close to the top of your weaving. Just take a few of those and create a knot just as close as you can to your weaving. Then cut a few more, create a knot from them, and you'd repeat this, of course, on the top and the bottom side. Next, you can take a dowel rod, or even a natural stick would be really a fun touch to this. And then it's just a matter of looping and knotting the piece onto a dowel rod. Just do that over and over again. Only need to do that on the top side. And as you can see some of my examples here, you can leave the fringe on the bottom. I really enjoyed sharing the story of Gunta Stossel with you today. And I really hope you've been inspired to take weaving beyond the expected and make it your own creation. You can see a complete materials list, printable instruction sheet, and learning standards at dickblick.com lesson plans. Thank you for joining me.